During an online class, my boyfriend forgot to mute his microphone. Over 200 people unintentionally eavesdropped on his plans for a date with a junior girl. The next day, he casually brought up the topic of marriage with me, while that same girl sweetly asked me for a birthday gift. The entire year group watched their performance in silence. Not a single soul stepped forward to tell them the mic had been on the whole time. Everyone became part of my Avengers team of revenge. Chapter 1. Today was the TA's problem-solving session. A class with over 200 students, all logging into the online meeting on time. While everyone joined the session, few were actually paying attention. My roommate and I were casually chatting in our own little world. She asked me when I planned to marry David. Probably soon, I replied. We'll likely get our marriage license at the end of the semester. David and I had been dating since our first year in college. Now, as second-year master's students, it had been 6 years. Our parents had already met. My mom and dad had a few reservations about David's background. He came from a small town in the south. His mother was unemployed, and his father did odd jobs. They had clearly stated they couldn't offer any financial help. But David was remarkable, exceptionally talented, handsome, and charming. In front of my parents, he held my hand tightly and promised he'd take care of me for the rest of his life. A hero's background doesn't matter, my dad had concluded, approving the marriage, the house, the renovations, the car, and the wedding expenses would all be covered by my family. As long as I was happy with David, that was enough for them. So, you're getting married at the end of the semester? Great! I can't wait to be your baby's godmother. My roommate teased with a grin. We were laughing and joking when she suddenly pointed to her headphones. Hey, I think David forgot to mute his mic. You should let him know. I hurried to my laptop. Sure enough, amidst the TA's explanation, I could hear David humming a tune, accompanied by the sound of running water. The TA paused. David, could you mute your mic, please? No response. He had probably set his phone to silent and left it somewhere. I grabbed my phone and called him. No answer. I was about to try again when a strange noise broke through. My hand froze midair. My roommate's expression shifted instantly. The TA stopped speaking. The class chat went dead silent. But my roommate's phone started buzzing nonstop. A few classmates had already created a private group chat. What the hell is going on? David's got some serious energy for the middle of the day. This is next level stuff. Come on. They're practically married already. Let them be. Someone tagged my roommate. Diana is your roommate, right? Maybe. Don't tell her about this. This is so humiliating. Anyone would break down. Messages flooded in one after another. The group's numbers quickly swelled to over 100 participants. My roommate sat frozen beside me, too stunned to say a word. Wait, this doesn't sound like Diana. What's happening? The audio, meanwhile, had shifted. The strange noise stopped, replaced by a sweet, teasing voice. So, who's better, me or Diana? David responded indulgently. Of course, it's you. The group chat went silent. Nobody expected this dramatic twist. All at once, everyone held their breath, listening intently. The TA, a PhD student 2 years older than us, had the authority to end the meeting immediately. But she didn't. She was just as stunned as the rest of us. My body turned cold, but my mind kept spinning. I recognized the girl's voice. It was my closest junior, Daniela. At that moment, she pouted and complained. You clearly like me more, so why stay with her? David chuckled. And what? You're going to help me find a job? Get me a residency permit? Daniela didn't seem bothered. She giggled. Doesn't matter. Even after you're married, we can still keep this up. I don't mind. But be careful, she warned. Don't get caught. I wouldn't want Diana to hate me. She's so kind to me. When I cried about never having a designer bag, she promised to get me one for my birthday. David replied indifferently. There aren't many rich fools like her left these days. That's why you're so lucky. David, Daniela teased. You're set for at least 20 years without lifting a finger. The two of them burst into laughter. The group chat felt like a graveyard. I took a deep breath, long and deep, as if the more air I inhaled, the calmer I'd become. Turning to my roommate, I said quietly. Add me to the group chat. When my name appeared in the group, everyone froze. After a moment, one of my closest friends was the first to break the silence. Diana, are you okay? My boyfriend and I think he's trash. Someone else chimed in. Another joined in. Honestly, we're all furious. When David gets back, we're going to teach him a lesson. That scumbag embarrasses all of us. The anger in the group escalated. I typed calmly, could you please end the meeting? The TA was in the group too. A few seconds later, the meeting ended. I wrote again, thank you, everyone. I'd appreciate it if we could all pretend we didn't hear anything. My friends were quick to protest. Diana, you're not seriously thinking of staying with him, are you? You're only engaged. The damage is bad enough, but marrying him would be even worse. Cheaters don't just stop at one time, they'll do it again and again. I pressed the voice message button and spoke softly. I won't marry him, but I won't break up with him immediately, either. Everything he's taken from me over the years, I'll make him pay back every last bit. Chapter 2. 10 minutes before the class ended, David picked up his phone to mark his attendance, only to find that the meeting had ended early. He also noticed my missed call. He immediately called me back. I answered, hearing the obvious tension and cautious probing in his voice. Why did class end early? He asked. And why were you calling me during class? I tried to keep my tone casual. The TA wasn't feeling well. So she ended early. Then why were you calling me? Nothing important. I said lightly. I was just wondering if you wanted to grab some barbecue after class. I heard him relax a little, though there was still a hint of wariness. I need to finish my online assessment for the internship today. How about tomorrow? Be good, okay? I murmured a few gentle complaints before hanging up. Come to think of it, that internship at a top brokerage firm was arranged by my dad. After our call, David, still unsure, went to check with the TA. Are you feeling better now? He asked, clearly fishing for any signs of a lie. But the TA and I had already gone over the script. She replied flawlessly. Much better after a nap. Feel free to ask me about the problems later. She sent me a screenshot of their conversation. David should be convinced now. I gripped my phone, replying calmly. No, it's not that simple. David would be heading back to his dorm soon, and I knew he would verify things with his 3 roommates. One of them happened to be my friend's boyfriend, and he secretly recorded their exchange for me. As expected, the moment David returned to the dorm, he started asking questions. There wasn't a roll call in class today, right? No. His roommates answered absent-mindedly. One was gaming, another reading a novel, and the last napping, all pretending not to care. Only after David left did they spring up energetically. What a scumbag. Let's not play basketball with him anymore. We don't want the girls thinking we're the same kind of trash. Their acting was impeccable. David remained completely in the dark, convinced that nothing unusual had happened. Compared to David, Daniela was even more careless. She invited me to her birthday party. The reason was simple. She had often admired my Chanel bag, alternating between envy and self-pity, until I finally softened and promised to buy her one for her birthday. Her invitation was nothing more than a way to push me to fulfill that promise. I agreed to attend. Soon, Daniela's birthday arrived. Being the social butterfly she was, she invited many classmates to her celebration. The night before the party, I asked David, I'm going to a junior's birthday party tomorrow, and they said I could bring a +1. How about coming with me? David's expression froze briefly but quickly returned to normal. Why would I go to your junior's party? You've met her before. Daniela, the cheerleader. She's really pretty. David frowned, pretending to think for a moment. Oh, I think I remember her. Such convincing acting. I laughed inwardly. David tried to decline again, but I immediately feigned irritation. What? You can't even do me this small favor? David hadn't yet completed his internship interview, and I had already told him that the senior female executive in charge was a close family friend of my dad, a sort of godmother to me. At this critical moment, he wouldn't dare upset me. Left with no choice, he agreed to go. On Daniela's birthday, I arrived at the venue with David on my arm, surrounded by classmates. We approached Daniela together. I could feel the excitement in the air as everyone watched us, like they'd never witnessed such juicy drama in their lives. Daniela greeted me with a honeyed smile. "Senior, you're here. Did you bring me a gift?" I smiled back, then gently pushed David forward. "Here it is." The entire room froze. Both Daniela and David's expressions turned pale. I savored their awkwardness for a couple of seconds before curling my lips into a small smile and patting David's shoulder. "Why are you just standing there? Didn't I ask you to carry the bag with the gift?" David, whose face had just gone white, sighed in relief at my words. He quickly pulled out a small Chanel bag from the shopping bag and handed it to Daniela. "I've heard so much about you from Diana," he said with a polite smile befitting a cool senior. Daniela's eyes sparkled as she accepted the bag. "Thank you. Diana's told me so much about you, too." The two of them must have thought their acting was flawless. Around us, the crowd collectively lowered their eyes, barely suppressing their disbelief. My roommate quietly pulled me aside. "You actually bought Daniela a Chanel bag?" I chuckled. "It's a fake," she sighed. "No one's here to genuinely celebrate her birthday. We're all just here for the show." Exactly. A modern-day campus soap opera, starring Daniela as the heroine and David as the undercover male lead. Despite everyone's efforts to conceal their amusement, David seemed to pick up on some of it. He leaned closer to me. "Have you noticed how many girls are looking at me?" Fortunately, I was prepared for this. I immediately laughed. "What can I say? You're looking even more handsome than usual today." David was always confident about his charm, understandably so. He had me, a well-off girlfriend who let him bleed her dry, and Daniela, a campus queen willing to be his secret lover. Of course, his ego was through the roof. As expected, David was pleased with my response. He grinned and wrapped an arm around me. "With such a handsome boyfriend, you'd better be careful. If you don't treat me right, someone else might snatch me away." Nearby, a male classmate choked on his drink, spraying it everywhere. "What's your problem?" David snapped, brushing off his shirt irritably. Sorry. The guy stammered, rushing toward the restroom while barely holding back laughter. Just feeling a bit nauseous all of a sudden, David watched him leave with a frown, then turned back to me. "You know, it's not just girls who are petty. Guys can be jealous too." "Oh, absolutely. Every girl in the world is scheming to win your favor. Every guy is seething with envy." I silently fired off a barrage of sarcastic comments in my mind while smiling sweetly. "You're absolutely right." After humoring David, I slipped away to check my phone. The group chat was exploding with messages. My drivers parked the car outside the restaurant. One of my wealthy friends informed, "Fernanda, when's your cousin arriving?" The TA asked. "He's already at the entrance," replied my roommate. "Perfect. Let's proceed as planned." The chat filled with celebratory emojis and memes. As the birthday party wound down, I pulled David aside, saying we should leave early. Not long after we left, Daniela stepped out with a group of classmates, only to nearly get brushed by a Maserati. Out stepped a tall, incredibly handsome young man, whose looks rivaled those of TV drama heartthrobs. Apologizing profusely, he insisted on taking Daniela to the hospital. Daniela, of course, hadn't been injured at all, but she immediately climbed into the Maserati's passenger seat. "You should have seen it," Fernanda told me afterward. Shaking her head, she pulled out every trick in the book, pouting, acting weak. You name it. It took everything we had not to vomit right there. I smiled. This is just the opening act. Chapter 3. Not everyone had stellar acting skills. Though, take the vice president of the student council. For example, around midterms, the list of outstanding student leaders was released, and David was shocked to find his name missing. Furious, he went straight to the vice president, who was in charge of his section, to demand an explanation. The vice president, who happened to be the TA's roommate, had long since heard of David's exploits. Hot-tempered by nature, she didn't mince words. When David asked why he wasn't on the list, she shot back. Outstanding leaders are required to excel in character, academics, athletics, arts, and work ethic. You're unqualified. The TA witnessed this exchange and immediately messaged me in a panic. Oh no, I couldn't stop her temper. Did we just blow our cover? Don't worry. How did David react when he left? He was fuming. Then it's fine. I replied with a confident smile. Sure enough, when David and I sat down for dinner that evening, the first thing he mentioned was the vice president. She's just being vindictive, David complained, stabbing at his bowl with his chopsticks. Last year, she wouldn't stop chasing me, and I turned her down. Now she's holding a grudge. By the way, Diana, you're close with the president, right? Can you help me out and let her know the VP is abusing her power? Outstanding leader comes with extra points for comprehensive evaluation scores. I only crossed her because I was standing up for you. Diana? Diana? I had been lost in thought. When David called my name, I snapped back to reality and immediately put on a united front. No problem. Just yesterday, the owner of our favorite restaurant had pulled me aside to share an interesting tidbit. Every time I paid the bill and left, David would return to the counter to request a receipt for reimbursement. At the time, I didn't quite understand what he was up to, but now that he'd brought up the student council, it clicked. Since the drama with Daniela needed time to reach its climax, I figured I might as well clean up David's mess first. I called the student council president, who was not only in the same elective class as me but also a good friend. After hearing me out, she chuckled. Got it. The next day, during a full student council meeting, the president made a stern announcement. Recently, there have been reports of student leaders embezzling event funds and misusing official resources. This behavior will be dealt with severely. David turned pale and showed up at my dorm building that evening, grabbing my arm. What did you say to the president? I blinked innocently. I just told her to look into the VP properly. Think about it, if the VP removed your award out of spite just because you rejected her, she's probably done other shady things. She needed a thorough investigation. David's face turned red, then white, then red again. A week later, the investigation uncovered that David had falsified expenses and misused his position for personal gain. He was expelled from the student council and given a major demerit on his record. The day his disciplinary notice was issued, the president and the vice president were at a private bar owned by my family, sharing a drink. Apologies, Junior, the VP said to me, raising her glass. I did pursue him before, but I didn't know many people from your department, and David always acted single. I understood immediately. The pictures of us on his social media must have been filtered to specific groups. I stopped contacting him privately once I found out he had a girlfriend. She added. I patted her shoulder. Nothing to apologize for. The president smirked, peeling salted peanuts. You two should toast to that. Raising my glass, I clinked it against the VP's. Here's to dodging scumbags. She laughed. And here's to you getting rid of yours soon. We downed the cold beer in unison. As she set her glass down, the VP suddenly remembered something. By the way, be careful. David suffered a major loss. What if he tries to hurt you? Don't worry, I said with a cold smile. He wouldn't dare. With this demerit on his record, finding a job will be nearly impossible. At this point, I'm the only thing he can rely on. Chapter 4. As expected, David didn't blame me at all. In fact, he became more compliant, since I held the key to his internship at a top-tier brokerage firm. With the scandal of his expulsion from the student council and the public criticism spreading across campus, David's reputation plummeted. The fangirls who once idolized him, seeing him as the charismatic senior, quickly abandoned him. David was feeling downcast and desperately sought comfort from Daniela. He thought Daniela was coming to rekindle their romance, but to his surprise, she immediately asked for something else. I need an Hermes bag, she demanded. David was stunned, while I, having secretly read his computer, was not shocked at all. Everything was going according to plan. Once, David was the charming, accomplished guy, but now, Daniela had found someone better. She was madly involved with a handsome, wealthy second-generation heir who drove a Maserati. David, just a slightly good-looking regular guy, couldn't compare to the rich, idol-like heir. This new man was not only wealthy and good-looking but also humorous, considerate, and elegant. He even told Daniela that, despite being young, he hoped to start a family soon. I could easily guess what was going through Daniela's mind if she married him. She'd be set for life. To that end, she would do anything. During their first meeting, Daniela had worn a fake Chanel bag I'd given her, and the wealthy heir assumed she came from a good family. He repeatedly told Daniela, "I'll only buy things for girls from families like mine. My family also expects me to marry someone of the same social standing. Can you come over to my house for dinner this Saturday? I've told my parents about you, and they want to meet you." With the opportunity to step into high society right before her, Daniela couldn't resist. Her first thought was to come to me for help. She pouted and begged me to lend her clothes and bags. I, already well informed, refused flatly. I didn't like lending my things, no matter how much she pleaded. I could tell Daniela was beginning to resent me, but I didn't mind. Revenge could come later. Tomorrow was Saturday, and today, she had to get the perfect rich girl look for her shot at becoming a future heiress. She turned to David for help. David, completely frustrated, asked, "You want me to get Diana's bag? She'll notice." But Daniela wasn't concerned. "If you don't help me, I'll tell Diana everything. Let's see if your job, household registration, or housing can survive this." David, furious but reluctant to push back, finally said, "I'll give you the key to my apartment. You can get it yourself." David and I had rented a place off campus, but after the online class incident, I had been avoiding physical contact with him. I hadn't been staying there for a long time. David thought Daniela could borrow the bag on Friday, return it by Sunday, and I wouldn't notice. So, that Friday evening, Daniela took the key David had given her and entered my wardrobe. If I were Daniela, I would have borrowed just one dress. But Daniela was much greedier. She took a full Chanel outfit, a pair of Van Cleef Arpels earrings, a Cartier bracelet, and an Hermes bag. She left, triumphantly carrying her haul, but as fate would have it, she ran into me downstairs. A few of my friends were with me, and Fernanda immediately called out, "Hey, isn't that Daniela? Is that an Hermes bag in your hands?" One of the girls teased me, glancing dramatically at me. "Diana, don't you have one like it? Wait, that outfit is yours too, right? Wasn't it me who helped you pick it out?" Daniela froze, and I walked toward her. I knew Daniela wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but I didn't expect her to be this foolish. When she saw me coming closer, her first reaction was to run. That was it. There was no going back now. Any chance she had to talk her way out of this vanished the moment she tried to flee. Fernanda and I exchanged a glance. We were both gold medalists in the 100-meter sprint at the school athletics meet. Half a minute later, Daniela was pinned down, and Fernando was calling the police. Chapter 5. The items Daniela had stolen were worth over 200,000 yuan. With all the evidence in place, her crime was undeniable. At the police station, Daniela, tear-streaked and desperate, sobbed and claimed that she had made an arrangement with David. She said she wasn't stealing, just borrowing. I called David. He rushed over, and I silently watched him. Having been in a 6-year relationship with him, I genuinely wanted to know how he would choose now. When I saw the shock and guilt already ready on his face, my heart sank. This man was worse than I had imagined. He was willing to throw Daniela under the bus to save himself. Sure enough, David insisted. My key was stolen. I don't know Daniela very well. We've only met a few times. I had no idea about this. Daniela snapped. "David, how could you?" She looked at me, her eyes red. "Diana, I'll tell you, David and I were together last year. He said he was only after your money." David turned pale and came over to me, trembling as he spoke. "Diana, your junior is crazy. I have no idea what she's talking about." A nearby officer asked Daniela, "You claim David gave you the key. Do you have any proof?" "Of course I do." Daniela pulled out her phone, shaking as she opened WeChat. Then she froze. She stared at David, trembling, and let out a shriek. "You planned this, didn't you? You deleted the messages." Two officers grabbed Daniela from either side, and she collapsed, crying uncontrollably. I understood now. I could already picture how David had warned Daniela to delete their past conversations, just in case her wealthy boyfriend found out about them. David had been preparing to distance himself from Daniela the moment she threatened him with the key. This man was more ruthless, more heartless than I ever imagined. At this moment, with his eyes filled with innocence and passion, he looked at me and said, "I've only ever loved you." I suppressed the urge to vomit and forced a smile. "I believe you, David. Your comeuppance is yet to come." Chapter 06. I told the police I was willing to settle things privately. But after returning to school, Daniela was still expelled. It said that David reported her to the school after she was taken to the police station. He couldn't tolerate having Daniela stay in the school any longer. To him, she was like a ticking time bomb. Of course, Daniela would never see her handsome rich second generation again. The Maserati belonged to my buddy's family, and the rich second generation himself was Fernanda's cousin, the heartthrob of the drama department at the art school. Daniela might not have been a good girl, but I was very clear that David was even worse. Yet, at this moment, there was no sign of malice in David. He treated me with utmost care, almost as if he were trying to win the title of the world's best boyfriend. The day I passed the interview with the head brokerage firm, David and I went to dinner to celebrate. He had a bit to drink and emotionally told me, "Diana, you're the only one who treats me the best." I looked at his serious face, momentarily shaken for a second, but it was only for a second. My intuition told me that a wolf would never change its nature just because of the kindness of a kind-hearted person, and David soon proved that point. David and I were both interning at the same company, and we were even assigned to the same team. During the onboarding training, there was a girl in our group who clearly had an extraordinary aura about her. She had that relaxed, privileged air of someone who'd been raised in wealth. The other interns had already dug up her identity. She was the only daughter of the big boss, Valentina. David had been sitting next to me, but when he saw the seat next to Valentina was empty, he made an excuse to go to the bathroom. When he came back, he conveniently sat in the seat next to Valentina. I smirked inwardly and kept taking notes diligently. David looked down on Daniela, but he was even worse than Daniela in many ways. After starting the job, I focused solely on my work, often being the last one to leave the office. David, on the other hand, showered Valentina with subtle flattery and gestures, but I pretended not to notice. Valentina, too, seemed interested in David. She would even ask him if he wanted some milk tea in the afternoon. Less than 2 weeks later, David's roommate forwarded me a chat log that was sent by David in their dorm group. Who would have thought? The atmosphere is getting more open. Even the CEO's daughter is this proactive. On the surface, it was a complaint, but it was clear he was gloating and showing off. Some of the roommates didn't like him and mocked him. "She hasn't confessed anything yet." David replied without hesitation, "Some people should stop being bitter. What's wrong with a grown woman adding you on WeChat, chatting with you, and sending you takeout? Does she want to develop a pure friendship with you?" I almost laughed out loud when I saw the chat log. Valentina asked David what kind of novels he liked, and David said he didn't like those unsubstantial ones. His must-read every day were books related to politics and economics. Valentina asked if he'd watched the latest hit movie, and David replied that he never watched commercial films, only niche indie ones. I felt ashamed for having once liked such a pretentious person. Clearly, with the CEO's daughter showing interest in him, David's heart, previously hurt by Daniela's disdain for his humble background, was reignited. He felt like he was back on top again. He stopped taking his work seriously. When the department manager criticized him in a meeting, he was flustered for a moment, but he had fallen too far behind, unable to catch up. The towering stack of Excel sheets looked like a foreign language to him. He once asked me if I could help him out a little, and I immediately played the victim, saying that I couldn't even finish my own work. By the last month of the internship, it was clear that David had given up. Every day he came to the office just to clock in, mostly to see Valentina. Every time I saw Valentina and David joking around in the break room, I couldn't help but silently sigh and think back to that old fable about the shepherd and the woodcutter. On Friday night, I changed out of my suit, put on a baseball cap and a mask, and went to the nearby Japanese restaurant. Valentina and David were eating there. I sat down at a table separated by a screen, quietly sipping my drink while listening. David was already anxious. What? The internship to full-time conversion has only one spot? Valentina, yes. I got the inside information from my dad. But you can't spread this around. David, but there are 3 of us in our group. If only one can stay. Tina, are you planning to stay? Valentina, of course not. My dad just wants me to come and learn a bit. So this spot will either be yours or Diana's. David sighed in relief. Well, that's good. Tina, can you talk to your dad and? Valentina, I can. But getting converted isn't that easy. It goes through a lot of approvals. Your and Diana's work results are too far apart. David, what do you mean? Valentina, didn't you notice? When we were having milk tea and chatting, Diana was busy working. I glanced over that day, and her market research data analysis was almost finished. David, no. Tina, your dad. Valentina, if your results and Diana's were similar, maybe I could ask my dad to help you. But with this huge gap, even he can't force it. David fell silent for a long time. Eventually, he said quietly, I understand. Tina, you can still talk to your dad, but I'll figure out the rest myself. David left. Once his footsteps faded away, Valentina pulled back the screen and sat across from me. Without hesitation, she picked up my chopsticks, grabbed a piece of salmon, and chewed it with a half-satisfied look, saying, So, how's my acting? Pretty good. Huh? I gave her a thumbs up. I'm exhausted, Valentina complained while devouring her food. Dealing with him is so gross. I have to pretend I like him. I rolled my eyes. I was planning to mess with him in other ways. But you heard we were interning at your dad's company and insisted on joining in. Your addiction to acting is unstoppable. What else? After watching my childhood friend get deceived by a scumbag for 6 years, I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Valentina drained my sake. Do you think David will take desperate measures? I laughed. Believe me, he definitely will. He's someone whose ambitions exceed his abilities. The jobs people are offering him are better than what he has. And it's like a slap in the face. But now he's already got a bad record at school. And his reputation is terrible. If HR does any background check, they'll know. What kind of good job would want him? This company is his last chance. He got this internship thanks to me. And now he wants to use you to secure a full-time position. He sees women as stepping stones, climbing his way up one step at a time, refusing to fall at the final hurdle. On Saturday, Valentina came over to my place for dinner. Halfway through, her phone rang. Valentina picked up and, after a few seconds, looked at me immediately. I calmly put down my chopsticks, knowing my plan had succeeded. Chapter 07. The only way to save David is if your work results were similar to Diana's. Valentina's words were David's last hope. The deadline was next Monday, and there was no way he could produce the work I'd spent months on in just 2 days. So there was only one solution. I had to lose my work results. The market research data analysis was all stored on my computer. If I submitted it on Monday, the outcome would be clear, but if all that data disappeared, it would create chaos. And at least that would give David room to maneuver. So, on Saturday, when no one was at work, David sneaked into the company and opened my computer. And he was caught by security. Who rushed in? Who can he blame? He can only blame himself for not paying attention during the onboarding training. Too busy thinking about how to flirt with Valentina. If he had listened, he would have known. First, all the work we did, including the data, code, and analysis, was company property. Second, every workstation is monitored, and the data he deleted was actually already backed up by me. The company filed a lawsuit against David, demanding compensation for damages, and the amount was astronomical to him, leaving him in a panic. He tried to seek help from Valentina, but Valentina was disgusted by David's tendency to destroy everything when he didn't get what he wanted. She didn't want anything to do with him anymore and blocked him on WeChat. Perhaps cornered, perhaps holding on to one last shred of hope. David once again turned to me as his last lifeline. After all, I had acted so slow-witted and weak all this time, blindly trusting him. He tearfully told me that he only wanted to take a look at my files and accidentally clicked on the delete button. We're going to get married. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. Whether you get the full-time position or I do, it's all the same. How could I want to hurt you? He said. crying with sincerity. Diana, you have to believe me. Believe in my love for you. I have nothing left except you. I pulled David up. Your birthday's next week. No matter what. Let's celebrate your birthday first. Chapter 08. When I was in love with David. We had a couple's account where we recorded our daily lives. Since we both attended prestigious universities and looked good, we even made it into the spotlight as a couple of academic overachievers. And the account had quite a few followers. For the past few months, the account hadn't been updated, and our followers were urging us to post something. When I announced that I would live stream David's birthday party, they were all extremely excited. David's birthday was celebrated in the apartment we rented. We invited all the friends we were close with. I set up the camera for the live stream. Today is David's 25th birthday. And first, I want to wish him a happy birthday. On this special day, I'm going to give David 3 gifts. David had an expression of high anticipation. In past birthdays, I'd given him designer suits, jewelry, cufflinks, and he had hinted that this year he wanted a car. I turned on the projector. David's eyes showed a bit of disappointment. A previous year, I had spent 2 weeks making a beautiful video, editing all the memories of our time together as a birthday gift. Many of our friends cried when they saw it, but David gave me the cold shoulder, saying that kind of gift was childish. At the time, I didn't understand why he didn't like it. Now, I finally understood. Because my intentions meant nothing to him. To David, gifts had long lost their original meaning and had become a tool for him to extract money from me. No worries, David. The gift I'm giving you today will certainly make you remember it for a lifetime. The projector turned on. The first birthday gift is called Chat History. I projected on the big screen the chat history where David had shared in the dorm group that Valentina liked him. Of course, I had censored the key details. Everyone could clearly see the proud smirk behind every word. Diana, what are you doing? David looked at me in shock. I acted as if I didn't hear him, coldly pressing the remote control. The next gift is company surveillance. Don't worry. Each gift is going to be more explosive than the last. The company surveillance footage appeared on the big screen, and everyone could see David standing by my desk, opening my computer, typing in the password, finding my work files, and deleting them with one click. I spoke softly and sadly. David, you know, actually, I left you a way out. The password to the computer is your birthday. If you'd felt even a little bit moved when you tried the password, if you thought about the 6 years we spent together, you wouldn't have gone down this road. But you didn't. I guess you were just proud of your cleverness and happy about how naive I was. Deleting my files without any hesitation, David tried to rush up. He knew that if this live stream continued, his social death would be inevitable. But I was already prepared. I had arranged with 2 guys to hold him back. David, I have a question for you. In the 6 years we were together, how many times did you cheat on me? The camera was clearly visible, and the viewer count kept rising. David clenched his teeth and, desperate, started to babble. No, Diana, I don't know why you're doing this to me. I explained the company situation to you. It wasn't intentional. You don't have to take revenge on me. I interrupted him, not letting him speak. Okay, then please accept the last gift I have for you. With a sense of satisfaction and cruelty, I pressed the play button. The last gift is called online course recording. David, held down by the 2 guys, had a brief moment of confusion and blankness on his face when he heard the words online course recording. The progress bar of the recording moved forward on the screen, and the assistant's voice calmly continued explaining the lesson. He had no idea why we were playing this. He had already forgotten. In his experience, there must have been many times he met with other girls, easily keeping it a secret from me. That online class was just another one of those times, ordinary and already forgotten by him. The next moment, the sound of running water was heard. It was the sound of a shower. David's face completely changed. He struggled to break free and shouted, Diana, you've known all along. You've been playing me. Yes, I've known all along. I looked at him coldly, disgusted. He was no longer the gentle, handsome man I first met, but someone utterly repulsive. Thank you, David. Thank you for forgetting to turn off the microphone that day. It allowed me to see the kind of person you really are. David yelled angrily. broke free from the two guys holding him, and rushed toward me. Amid the screams, he picked up a candelabrum and threw it at me. I sidestepped, and the candelabrum flew past my body, hitting the wall. David stood still, an eerie smile forming on his face. "Diana, you've ruined my life. I'll never forgive you. I'll never forgive you." He seemed to have gone mad. He suddenly tore off his jacket and ran outside. His friends, fearing he might snap, hurriedly chased after him. I followed, watching as David ran out of the complex. He turned around, shouted at me, "I'll never forgive you. You bitch. Your bad luck will come soon. Just wait." The next second, a car making a turn hit him and sent him flying. Chapter 09. That live stream caused a huge uproar online, but in the era of fast news cycles, everything changed quickly, and new events diverted everyone's attention. After graduation, I threw myself into my work, getting promoted twice in 3 years, setting an internal record in the company. My parents were proud, and my friends were happy for me. Later, I received some news about Daniela. A familiar acquaintance told me that Daniela was often found drinking in shady bars and had been hospitalized after a middle-aged businessman's wife beat her up for bothering her husband to buy Daniela a phone. The acquaintance showed me a photo of her. Although she was a year younger than me, the excessive smoking, drinking, and heavy makeup made her look much older. David didn't die. He survived but now needs a wheelchair. Maybe because of the brain injury, his mental state deteriorated. He now pushes his wheelchair through the streets, and if any woman looks at him, he follows her and asks if she likes him. A friend told me all of this, and I simply replied, "What happens to him from now on has nothing to do with me. In this life, we will encounter betrayal, deception, and hurt. It's natural to want revenge. It's not wrong, but what's more important is to start our new lives." I still maintain my faith in love and the courage to love. I've learned to see life for what it is, but I still love it. Fernanda's cousin has recently been finding excuses to invite me to dinner. The once popular guy in drama class is now a rising star in acting, but when he's with me, he always seems a little nervous. He asked me when the pain from past love would heal and if, when it does, I'd be ready for a new relationship. I thought for a moment and replied seriously, "Love has never hurt me. What hurt me were the bad people I met in love. But bad people shouldn't be the reason we blame love." As for when I might start a new relationship, I shrugged. When fate comes, I'll start whenever the time is right. Before I could finish my sentence, Fernanda's cousin jumped up excitedly. "Wait for me." 10 minutes later, he rushed back, holding a huge bouquet of roses, his face as red as the flowers. "Well, how about we start now?" I smiled. I still believe in the kindness of the world, and I believe that, although life is full of struggles, we will always find our way back.